It's okay.
All right, we're live. Hello, everybody. Well, of course, we got to give a couple minutes for everybody to join us, but I want to thank everybody in advance for joining us. I don't think Brian needs an introduction, but I think we all know who Brian is. But I do want to thank you for coming on the show. I know you're very, very, very busy with everything you got going on. So I really appreciate it. Awesome. I think it's awesome that you are here with us on this Wednesday evening.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. It's nice to be asked. So thank you.
Yes. So since we only have an hour, and I'm sure there's like so much to talk about, for anybody that's that lives under a rock and doesn't know who you are, would you just introduce yourself? And I want to know how you got started and how you got into this and where you started and how you got from, just, hi, I'm Brian, I'm this paranormal investigator, to being on Haunted Collector, then to being on Paranormal, caught on camera, and all this fun stuff that you do.
Sounds like something I should write a book about. I have. I've written a book. But hey, everybody, I'm Brian J. Cano. I'm a paranormal investigator, and my focus is in parapsychology. And how did I get here? How did I land at this very moment in this spot on this podcast? Well, for the past 18 years, I've been crawling around in the dark, looking into the mysteries of our world, and probing those questions of what happens to us after we die. Now, when I was a child, as children do, you believe in everything. There's no reason not to. And, you have Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, Tooth Fairy, your deity, whichever one you were raised in. And that the world makes sense. And when I was a kid, I used to watch shows like In Search of and things like that. And just hearing about all those mysteries, Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, Stonehenge, I was hooked at a very early age. I'm like, oh, when I get older, I'm going to do that. I'm going to look into it. I'm going to solve all those mysteries.
Yeah.
And as a child, you think, yeah, I don't have to worry about job or taxes or getting tickets on my car or any of that. It's like, yes, I want to do that. I can do that.
Right.
And as a kid, it made sense. And then 10 years old, Ghostbusters came out. 1984, and up until that point, the media that you'd seen on the paranormal and ghosts in particular was pretty much, it's demonic, you're going to hell, it was The Omen, it was The Exorcist, it was, if it's ghost, if it's supernatural, if it's spiritual, you're gonna die. And this was different. This said, we're ready to believe you, and this is something that they handled with tech, and something about that got lodged in my brain. It was seeded away for a later date because, as I mentioned, you get older, you get a little jaded, you get a little skeptical because the world beats things out of you. And this is the beauty of the paranormal and the paranormal community. This is an arena where we can recapture that wonder. We can recapture that feeling we had as children, but yet have the experience of adulthood to weather it, to say, something weird is going on. I don't understand it, but let me look into it. Right. And when I first kind of got back into it 18 years ago, I was very much a skeptic. Capital S, underline, bold, italic, skeptic. And that's not to say that I necessarily didn't want to believe. It was that nothing that was presented to me really was enough or really had the merit or facts or anything underneath of it other than just somebody's report. Mm-hmm. So that got me looking into it. And some friends and I started a cable access show here in New York City called Scared on Staten Island. And that's where we kicked around abandoned buildings, looking into urban legends and the rumors of ghostly sightings and cult activity. And this came out in 2002. So there was no Ghost Hunters. There was no Ghost Adventures. None of the shows you watch now existed. So we had nothing to model ourselves off of. So it was just us kicking around these abandoned places, doing the best we could. And locally, it got a very large following because people would watch it and they would say, "Man, you're crazy. I would never do what you do. Oh, I can't believe it. What's going to happen next?" Like they wouldn't do it, but they wanted us to do it because
Right.
everyone's curious. Everyone wants to know. And now, with the explosion of TV and paranormal media, everyone now has access to this. Everyone can talk about it. Everyone can, instead of being forced to stay silent or risk ridicule or being locked up in an insane asylum, people could go, "Yeah, I saw something. Yeah,
Mhm.
I can see things that other people can't see," and it's no longer the taboo it once was. Now maybe it's just a little kitschy. It's like, "Oh, you see ghosts? Oh, you're doing the ghost thing over the weekend." Yes, I
Yeah.
am. Yes, I am.
So, all right. So I have a couple questions, and I have ADD really bad, so forgive me,
Okay.
because I might, go over here. But so you originally started being into like the crypto stuff, like you believed in like the Loch Ness, or you were just kind of
It's not so much that I started in crypto, it's just that the paranormal umbrella that includes all those things.
right. Okay.
Again, when you're a kid, you have no reason to disbelieve that because,
Right.
again, you're young, you haven't seen 90% of the animals that live on our planet. And even as adults, we haven't seen many of those creatures outside of a zoo, but we know they exist. If I were to come to your house right now and be like, "Oh, Taryn, I just saw a kangaroo outside," you would probably
Right.
go, "I don't think you did." We know it
Right.
exists, but it's the report that you would be skeptical of.
Right. Also, have you ever been to that island off of in New York? There's an island. It's escaping my memory what it's called, but I guess it was like where they a whole bunch of abandoned buildings, and I think there were like tuberculosis patients that were brought
Yes.
there. I forget the name of the island,
Uh,
and I
it's not Roosevelt Island. It's I know what you're talking about. I used to play softball on one of the neighboring islands, but yeah, there was the tuberculosis hospital on there, and it's been featured on a lot of documentaries.
yeah,
Never got to go because of its location. It was, at least back in the days that I started, you didn't want to just show up, you know. I mean, the shows can go there with the camera because they've got permits and permission and whatnot. But again, doing what I did at the beginning in New York City was kind of a risk because, okay, we're going into these abandoned buildings and
right,
we're not necessarily scared of ghosts or things like that. I was more frightened of people, the crackheads that we encountered, the gangs that we encountered, the people who were there very real and very corporeal with weapons who were like, "Hey, who are you?" They didn't care that we had cameras and we're like, "Hey, we're looking for ghosts." We
right.
were looking for a beating, is what they thought. But yeah, I had never gotten to go to that place in an official capacity.
Yeah, I think it would be. It sounds cool, So I love abandoned places and stuff like that. So I don't venture to New York very often, but if I ever had the opportunity to go there, I probably would. Oh, somebody said, hold on, I think where where they bury all the inmates.
Heart Island. That
Yeah,
sounds vaguely familiar. Either way, the answer is still no.
I
Haven't
have
done it.
not been
Haven't done
there.
it.
um, so So you're with a group of friends. You still talk to these people? Are you still in touch with the people that
Yeah,
you?
I mean, for the
That's
most part,
awesome.
Scare on Staten Island was me, Chris Mancuso, Greg Cusick, Jason Porcino. These guys we were friends before, so we
Yeah,
are still friends, and
that's
that's,
awesome.
we are who we are. And what was it, a couple of weeks ago at my History of the Paranormal exhibit here on Staten Island at the Kreischer Mansion, we got Chris and Greg together to come out, and there's the picture before when we're all young. There's the picture after, a
Oh,
lot more
that's
gray,
awesome.
a lot more weight, and
That's
yeah,
awesome.
now we're concerned about things like throwing our back out, posture, blood pressure. Yeah,
Right. That's awesome. But that's good. That's good because I mean, I know when I first started investigating, I had no idea what I was doing. And, it was, I was running around cemeteries like, hi, if anybody's here, show me a sign of your presence, like not even knowing what I was doing, or, ignorance is bliss sometimes, but,
It's true. It's true. I mean, for the most part, like you could never dial back to the state you were at before. I mean, unless you suffered some massive head wound and that all got erased, you can never unsee or unexperience the things that have brought you to this point. But it's good because the wisdom of all those experiences allows you to better evaluate what it is that's happening. And again, I've said this a lot of times. If 2002 Brian spoke to 2020 Brian, we are very different people. We have very different viewpoints. We would probably not get along because the understanding is not there. But having lived through the 18 years reading, researching, getting mentored, going on tons of cases, going on Haunted Collector, going on all these different projects allowed me to experience things I wouldn't have otherwise. And it's all part of it. And who knows, 2040 Brian might tell 2020 Brian that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So
it's so true.
we'll see what happens.
Well, I was going to say, I'm like, you worked with John Zaffis and on Haunted Collector. Now, did you know John previously, or like, and that's how that all came about?
Well, you can't be in the paranormal seriously for any extended amount of time and not run into John Zaffis. You get on his radar, and then he's inevitable. He's like a weather pattern. Like it's might not rain today, might not rain tomorrow, but it's going to rain.
Yeah.
And John and I, and actually Chris and I first became friends when we did a project for him, a documentary called John Zaffis, The World Within. And it was a documentary about his life. And we shot it, directed it, edited it. I still have like maybe 2 copies left, but it was such a fun experience. Probably the best time I've ever had making a documentary. And that cemented us in John's world. And at the end of the filming, Chris was hanging out with John. He goes, "Hey, so we did a good job, right? So we friends now?" And he goes, "No, we're family. We're family."
Oh,
like, okay. And he does a little tug of the beard as he does, and it's like, yeah, all right. So we've been Team Zaffis since then. And Haunted Collector was cool because they were developing a show about him and his family, and whatever they codenamed it, it was going to be John and the family goes out and gets haunted artifacts. Syfy channel said, you need a little bit more. You need a tech person and you need another investigator. In comes Beth Ezzo and myself. Beth was on his team for 10 years, so she wasn't cast. She was like, okay, legit part of John's team. And me, I had known him before, so yeah, I came on it too with my tech. And that too was a little bit of a back and forth because, and here's the thing, for those of you watching, I could see some of the names in the chat. Yeah, you all know where this is going. You've all had option agreements. You've all been like, we're going to get a show. You sign that piece of paper that says, I will not do anything for X amount of time. Oh. That production company then owns you for that amount of time.
Right.
John asked me in February to come on Haunted Collector. Mm-hmm. That January, Chris and I had signed with a company to develop an urban exploration show, like modern ruins and whatnot. But as all the people in the chat probably know, in January is the big industry pitch where all the production companies say, hey, look what we've got. If they're interested in you in January, unless your show gets picked up and developed, they don't care about you in February. But they do care that you sign that paper. Yeah. So when John said, hey, hippie, what are you doing? Come on my show. I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. That production company said, oh, you're not going anywhere. So it was a battle. It was a fight. The battle for Brian had begun. And every day it was a different thing. And on Monday, all right, we're going to do it. On Tuesday, sorry, buddy, they can't work it out. Wednesday, all right, the lawyers are going to go to bat for you. Thursday, nope, it's just not going to work. Friday, the president of Syfy is gonna do something. And eventually, obviously, as you all know, it did work out. Right. And
And
The
such a
postscript, the postscript to this is, I think that production company made more money from letting me out of my contract than I made the entire first season of Haunted Collector.
wow.
So just be careful what you sign, guys.
Absolutely. My goodness. Well, Haunted Collector actually was an awesome show. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. And I remember, when did that come out? When was that? What year was that?
Came out in 2011.
Okay, so 2011. So 2011, I went to a phenomenology, and it was the first time I met Uncle Johnny, and I call him the original Jay-Z. He's the original. But it was the first time I met him, and I was with somebody at the time, and I remember him. He put his arm around him, and he was just like, he's like, and he could mimic him very well, So he's like, oh, he goes, I deemed your Lamborghini a haunted item. I'm gonna have to take it, And he was like, asshole, But yeah, no, he's awesome, and that show was really, really good. So I was sad to see it go, as a lot of the previous good, like the shows back in the day were all good. Nowadays, I find it tough to find ones that I do like, and I'm not just saying this because you're on. I have said this on all of my brew shows. Paranormal Caught on Camera is one that I do enjoy watching. It's very, I like that one, and I like the Unexplained with William Shatner. That's another good one. You know what I mean? So there are still some good shows out there.
You just picked 2 shows I'm on, so that's good. That's good. Keep going.
So they're good shows,
Well, you know what I like? I like, and I had my doubts about Paranormal Caught on Camera because, as you know, we've all gotten that email saying, "All right, new show coming out. We're gonna film. We're gonna put you on it," and we're excited that someone has reached out and is interested in us. But then I'm wary because, again, producers and paranormal people do not necessarily mix. We have
Right.
common goals from time to time, but their goals are way different from ours. So that's why there will always be a schism unless you're careful. And I mean, there's great shows out there and there's great people out there. You just have to match A with B. But with Paranormal Caught on Camera, I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be good. In my mind, I was envisioning those true TV clip shows where they get like washed up D-list celebrities joking and talking about silly things. I'm like, oh, I don't want it to be that. But there is a jokey element to it. All the case names are some clever puns, and I'm a sucker for puns, so I love all the case names that they write up on the screen. But it's not meant to be a serious, here's the evidence we caught.
Right.
It's not about that. Like all the other shows, the onus is on them to say, well, we caught this. Okay, well, did you? Now, the audience, we are your peers, and this is going to be peer review of those things, and you have to take responsibility for it.
Mm-hmm.
On Paranormal Caught on Camera, we're watching something that someone else took. So, all right, we can comment on it, even though they call us an expert panel. Like none of us are experts per se, but I could give my experienced opinion of what I see. And it is what it is. But what's great about it is that it gets the conversation started and it introduces people to things that maybe they didn't know too much about. Like, I have not been so steeped in ufology as I have been since starting this show. So I've learned more. I wasn't very big on crypto, and I've learned the things about that just from being on the show. So when people watch Paranormal Caught on Camera, get out of the mindset of like, okay, everything we're saying is real. We're saying, look at this video.
Right.
The world over is pointing their cameras and saying, we found something that we can't explain. Let's talk about it. And that's what I think the strength of the show is, that conversation that continues to evolve.
Yeah. So like, who picks? Does the production company pick what videos? Like, I'm sure Paranormal Caught on Camera gets hundreds of thousands of videos. I'm sure there are so many videos that come in. Do the people that are on there, as yourself and some of the other, quote unquote experts that they have on there, do they kind of have a say in the videos that are picked, or?
I mean, they get the thousands of submissions. They then send us the selects and they're like, here's what we're going to be filming for next week. And we've all, looked down the list and we all give our comments on it. I'm going to actually respond to something a couple of people are saying in the chat because it's pretty typical. You should know better by now. I see someone says, oh, I just wish someone would call out when something's obviously BS. Well, is it? Were you there? I guarantee all of us, myself included, will be like, oh, I don't like this video, or I don't want to say anything about it because I don't want to look like I'm endorsing it. It's a TV show. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. The paranormal is not going to be solved in the 42 minutes that the show is on, nor the next show, nor the show before it, nor anything with the Osbournes on it. So, it's entertainment. It's there for us to be entertained while we're learning a little something. And I got to tell you, like I said, it's not about that. I mean, the other shows, again, the onus is on them to really stand behind the clip. But for us, it's like, all right, I'll look at the video. I'll make my comments. The editors will then use the comments they feel are good. The show airs. And the next day, someone will come on Twitter and be like, oh, you guys are dummies because this is clearly this and clearly that. I'm like, well, we're not dummies. We just aren't omnipotent. We don't know everything, and it's not our job to fly to the location to investigate it. However, the more information is good. Like I like when people go, oh, well, you said this last night, but I grew up 10 miles from that area and there's a military base and used to do this. I'm like, all right, that's good. Now I have more information. Now we have more information, and it could be done in a non-inflammatory way. Like everything doesn't have to be an argument online. So
yeah, absolutely.
I like when people chime in and give more information, so that now the next time the production gives me a video similar to that, I'm like, oh, well, okay, that person said it might be flares, it might be this, and I have more to go on. So again, the conversation evolves, and that's the whole point of this. This is not to be and that's the thing. We're all the panelists come from different areas. We're all over the country, so we're not a black shirt logo wearing team that has to stand by everything. We all have different strengths and different areas of expertise. Like everything crypto, they'll ask me questions like, well, Brian, what do you think it is? And I'll say, well, here's my thoughts. But you know who would be good at this? Derek Hayes. Go to him for this. Or everyone seems to have their area that when they pop on the screen, you know what they're going to say. And here's a little tip, again, to the people who need translation matrices for the comments. When you hear Brian speak in general about a topic and not something specific in the video, there's a good chance Brian doesn't believe everything he's seeing.
Right.
And all the panelists, we're fairly savvy people. So we'd probably all express skepticism at what we're seeing, but it's not a skepticism show. It's a show about wonders that keep you interested. If it was a show of like, well, that's fake, and this is this, and there's a thing, and that's this, the show would be 5 minutes long, and there you go. There'd be no show. So how entertaining would that be?
Right. There is a question. Somebody, Kenny Biddle, I'm sure you know Kenny. He said, how much time do the panelists get to review the video clips before commenting?
I can't say for everyone, but for the most part, I'll get a script maybe about a week before, sometimes less, depending on how hectic the schedule is. I'll get scripts for 2 episodes, and they're just lists. Here's the links. Here's the time codes to really pay attention to. So, okay, I live a fairly normal life. I go to work, I commute, I do everything else, and then I got to come home and watch videos. So as I'm going through them, I'm sitting here at my desk making notes. I just make notes. I make notes. I'm like, okay, this is what this seems like. This is what pops into my head. This is what this could be. And I mean, even you've experienced it. Like, we'll go to a convention and someone will go, "Oh, Taryn, I got this picture. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. What do you think of this?"
yeah, yeah, for
Essentially,
sure.
this is the official version of that.
Right.
So I have to watch all these videos, and then when I film, I refer to my notes. We talk about it, and whether we comment on it on the episode or not, every commentator gives their thoughts on every video. So the
Hmm.
editors have a lot to pour through, and
Right.
just as with the other shows, sometimes you might have a gold nugget like, "This is amazing. This is so profound. Here, I have this to say to you," and they don't use it in lieu of a funny comment or something that's quicker. And just as you can see from this show, I'm a little bit long-winded. So as I get older, I talk more. That's harder to edit into bite-sized chunks. So that's why you'll never see me in the commercials, and you'll never see me in the upfront.
um, so is there ever a time, and you don't have to give specifics, but where you're like, you know what, I don't think this is paranormal, but they're like, "Oh, but we want to use it." Is there ever a time where, you kind of don't want to be a part of that? Or like, do you have to be a part of like all the videos they show and comment on?
If there's something that I clearly am like, "Oh, I don't agree with this," or I don't want to get behind it, I'll usually just pass. I've got
Yeah.
nothing to say about that. Or again, I will just comment generically on the phenomenon.
Mhm.
Um, Last season, it was either at the end of season one or the beginning of season two, there was a Slender Man video. We know Slender Man doesn't exist in and of itself, but yet people are citing it. People are saying, "I saw Slender Man." Okay, well, we know Slender Man was created via an internet contest. He was the winning submission to an art contest, but yet people are seeing him. There are cases where things have been done in his name. I forget, a girl attacked or murdered, or I forget the particulars of it, attacked her friends because Slender Man told her to do it. So whether or not there is an actual physical Slender Man, Slender Man is now part of our culture, part of our existence, in the respect that it's irrelevant if he is real or not. Things are being done in his name. So by proxy, it's something that is worthy of comment. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, again, if you don't see me in a segment, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm not behind it, but it's the less I say, the less they have to use. And talking about brevity, Kenny, you should edit down too some of those long articles.
um, so I don't know if this was on Paranormal Call on Camera or not, but I remember because some of the ones that the people get and they send in that are like in rivers or lakes where like cold-blooded animals aren't usually, or this and that, like those freak me out because you there's no explanation for that. But there was one, I don't know if it was Unexplained or if it was Paranormal Call on Camera. I want to say Paranormal Call on Camera, but
We do get a lot of those.
so somebody, I don't know if it was like a camera outside, and it filmed these tall white. They moved really weird, like they
They
were
look like
all.
they look like compasses, kind of just
Yes, and
night walkers,
they
night
walked across.
stalkers. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting chills thinking about, because that was probably the freakiest thing I've ever seen. Like if I saw that on my home camera, my home video camera, I would be like. And then I think there were a couple of other videos that have captured this, not quite as good as the one that you guys had got, where it was like across the yard, and I was like,
Hmm.
holy crap! Like I'm looking at this, I'm like, what could that possibly? Your brain automatically is like trying to find like this natural reasoning for what you're seeing, and it wasn't an animal, like who know, I don't know. It was the creepy. I've never seen anything like that. And then you guys were going on about how, I think there were a couple of other videos that people have sent in where it looks similar to that,
I
but
believe that came out of Fresno, California, was one of them.
yeah, oh my goodness, I never saw or heard anything like that ever. And
Yeah, it's weird. It's definitely an oddity, and for the show when I had to comment on it, that was the first time I'd ever seen something like that.
yeah,
So sometimes we get presented with videos that reignite that wonder that I had as a child, and I'll tell the producer, I'll be sitting from the camera, Skype will be up, and I'll be like, "Oh, I love this one because it's there was one just fairly recently with something called an Oswang,
mhm,
and it came out of the Philippines, and it was this shape-shifting, at least it appeared to be a shape-shifting creature, because you see something walking on the street, it turns, seems to morph through an
the
iron fence, a
uh,
gate, and then takes on form. Now, of course, it's a video of a security video. There's artifacting, there's low res, there's frame rate, there's lots of different things, but just the way it looked, like, okay, even if we can explain it away, the conversation still needs to be had.
yes, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I can't. I couldn't imagine getting that. Like seeing that video is stuck in my head because that is like. I mean, and then they were saying they've even. I think there was somebody saying that they even tried to recreate that. You know what I mean? And try, but the way it moved and everything. You know what I mean? Like it was just. I can't. I just thought that was.
Recreations are tough. I mean, it's a worthy and valid use of time to try to debunk these things, but at the same time, just in my own experience, even just speaking, I'll say something, and to me, it's perfect. It's like, ooh, I got it. Producer will be like, "Oh, the sound cut out. Can you say that again?" I'm like, "Oh, what did I say?" And I'll
Yeah.
spend 2 or 3, 4 more times trying to get that magic back, and it's gone. It's already
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
So when it comes to things like um, finding out shadows, finding out heights, finding out some logistical, physical things, yeah, we can try to recreate that. But sometimes you just can't recreate exactly. And if you can't, that's not necessarily proof that, oh, this cannot be. Just
Right.
sometimes there was those situations that, okay, this is why it's called into question. And
Right.
I mean, it's definitely worthy to take the time to try to do that. Like um, a lot of the videos that get sent in, people be like, "Oh, this happened," and "Oh, it's my mother's ghost." I'm thinking, there's no reason to really think that. However, I will never pop someone's bubble if they feel it's a
Right.
familial connection. But I can say, well, here are the alternatives. Perhaps
Right.
this is why.
Yeah, and that's and that and and for somebody like you, you're on TV, so a lot of people look up to you, and you don't want to, like you said, pop their bubble, it's like even people come up to me and say, oh look, I caught this orb, or I got this, or I got that, and it's like you have to delicately answer, because you don't want to hurt somebody's, feelings or
Well,
if
here's
they
the thing.
believe.
There's nothing wrong with asking a question. And,
Right.
you and me and, people in our groups and in our circles, yeah, you say word like orb, like, oh, like we've heard it a million times. But to that person asking, maybe it's the first time they've even thought about it. So, like, yeah, the question might seem mundane and repetitive and like, oh, it's this. But to them, they don't know any better. So when they ask the question, a little patience is required. Like, all right, okay, well, here's what it is. I'll say it again, and then hopefully they'll take that knowledge and then maybe pass that on. And
Right.
this is why I've been doing this thing that I've been doing lately, the history of the paranormal mobile exhibits, because so many people get their sole education on the paranormal from the TV shows. And again, TV shows are great. Whichever one you like, you watch it. It got you excited about the topic. The fact that so many people are doing because of this is, for the most part, a good thing. But you can't let it be your sole education. You have to look further. You have to look deeper. And none of these shows would exist without the foundations of these people, these societies, these places, these things that happen before.
Right.
And I'm talking like go back to the 1600s, Emanuel Swedenborg, come a little further, Franz Mesmer, Harry Price, the Fox sisters. There's all these names and concepts that without whom we're standing on the shoulders of some people. Many of them were frauds, but we're standing on the shoulders of people who came before to say, all right, here, what about this? And
Mm-hmm.
now these days, again, you can do this with no training, no education, and be a paranormal rock star. But back then, if you did it, you were subject to ridicule. Not like we aren't, but you could be locked up. You could be. There wasn't social media, so like
Right.
take the Warrens. Okay, what they would do, they went out there. They said, "All right, we're doing it. This is what we're experiencing." They really just had the newspaper and television. So whatever that reporter wrote or whatever that TV station said about them, that's what would stick for X amount of time. It wasn't this quick turnaround of the court of public opinion. It was very much, all right, you tell me this is what the Warrens did. All right, I'm reading it in black and white. And until you can dig deeper, that's what you knew. But nowadays, I mean, look at this. I'm in my kitchen. You're in your area, and we're
Fair.
doing we're
Yeah.
doing this
Yeah.
is amazing. This is like magic to someone 100 years ago.
Right. Absolutely. And that's why I started doing this, because I wanted the shows just to me, at one point, just started to be, I kept thinking about that 14-year-old myself watching a show and, you know, seeing people running around and saying, "You want me, come get me," throw things at me,
Mm,
and thinking, "Oh, I guess that's how you're supposed to do it. I guess this is
yeah,
what it is, and I wanted to do the Paranormal Brew because I wanted, people to be like, look, like you said earlier, like not everything is a demon, not everything is negative, not everything is paranormal, not everything
yeah,
is,
exactly.
there's it's just not what you see on TV is not, it's
Well, here's the
entertaining.
thing: the strength about doing things like this. Again, someone could criticize, like, "Oh, you guys are just kind of hanging out in your apartments talking about this. This is not official. This is not real science." It's like, well, it's the conversation that needs to be had. And honestly, the fact that people are having a dialogue, having a discourse about it is a good thing. The sharing of information is a positive thing. And honestly, there's a lot of critics out there. There's a lot of skeptics, and that's fine. Skepticism is good. Let's try not to
Mhm.
be an asshole about it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes a know-it-all. And if you
Yeah.
know it all, what are you doing here? So
Right.
I've been doing this for X amount of time. I'm not even close to knowing. And for me, I always say every 10 years is like a grade. So 18 years, I'm kind of at the end of my sophomore year.
Right.
We got a long way to go, a lot more to learn. And the fact that, all right, like Taryn, no one is paying you to do this. You're
Right.
doing it because you're hungry for knowledge and discourse, and you want to talk to different people, and then take that knowledge and say, "Hey guys, look what I learned. Here's what I'm sharing." That's a good thing. And
Right.
just you got to keep doing. You got to keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I agree, and that's why I do. I have people on here that, you know, all walks of life. I mean, I just had we had somebody on that was, part of the Masons. You know what I mean, and how they are, and then and how they're into the spiritual side of things, and this and that, and I mean, there's not there there's not a realm that I won't, you know, I want to learn too. I want to be educated. I do feel, the older I get, you had said this earlier too, which is interesting, but I feel like the older I get, I am becoming a little bit more, I don't want to say skeptic, because I've had way too many experiences personally. And I bet, I believe
right.
in the paranormal, whatever you want to call it. But I have started to be a little bit more, I don't know, like I don't use a lot of the equipment. I am not a fan of equipment. Um, I I don't think that things like that really help connect. I mean, if you're in somewhere, and I mean, I use my recorders because, that is something that I love to use, are my recorders. Again, there is room for, tearing that apart and saying, how do you know it wasn't somebody doing this or whatever? But I think who you investigate with and who you do things with is also important, because if me and you are somewhere and we're investigating somewhere and you say, oh, I see something right there, now I trust that what you're saying is true. I would have to trust you.
This comes down to, ironically, faith. So for all the gear and gadgets and stuff we have, there's a common misconception that, and I ask this of people, hey, what are we looking for? We're looking for evidence. No, oh, well, we're looking for facts. Not exactly. We're looking for proof. We're looking for truth. And truth cannot be subjective.
Mhm.
Truth will exist whether we want to accept it or believe it or not. And that's why I think it's important, if you are looking for that, if you're trying to look for something empirical, the usage of gadgets and its proper use and proper dissemination is useful. But then at the same time, we are spiritual beings in physical bodies trying to act a certain way. So already we are a dichotomy that doesn't always mesh. So years ago, I started doing a documentary, and I wanted to talk to a lot of tech people. And when I spoke to these tech people, I was hoping for numbers and figures and facts to really shore up the argument I was trying to make. And each one of these people had been in the paranormal long enough to say, well, this is how I got into it. And now it's more spiritual. And all these people were talking very spiritual concepts. I'm like, well, give me some numbers. And they couldn't do it for me. And I find myself in a similar space these days, in that, yes, I'm allowing for that X factor, that spiritual love and light type thing that used to really grind my gears.
Yeah.
It's, I still rail against it. I mean, I'm on investigations. You will see me use a pendulum.
Mhm.
2002 Brian would hit me or something, because this,
Right.
again, where is it coming from? And me, even as I'm using it, even as things are coming across and messages are being delivered, the logical Brian brain is saying, I don't understand this, so therefore I'm annoyed by it, I'm skeptical of it, but I'm doing it, so what the hell? What's going on?
Right.
So I have to consider that there is more, and what is causing this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, each of the places I've been going on the tour, my plan is to get to all 50 states.
Which would be amazing.
So New Jersey, check. New York, check. Pennsylvania, check. This weekend, Connecticut, check. 46 more states to go.
That's awesome. And I've seen it. I went, and when you were at Selma Mansion, and I had to go, and I mean, from start to finish, it is very educational. And I actually left there thinking, wow, is Pete Cano a skeptic? Like, because, and it's good to be a healthy skeptic, right? That was the other thing I was going to say. As the older I get, and like, I feel like I'm not doing this to prove anything to anybody. This is me. This is for me. I love the experiences I have, the personal experiences I have. So, but I also have become a lot more skeptic. Not that I don't believe, but while I'm doing this investigating and while I'm doing things, I'm not quick as I was a long time ago to be like, what is that?
Well, that's why I call myself a skeptical believer, because again,
Yeah.
when we try to label ourselves, that's when you pigeonhole yourself, you paint yourself into a corner, use whatever euphemism you want to use, but it limits you. And
Mhm.
the true scientist, the true person, the seeker of knowledge, isn't necessarily concerned with staying in the label that they set for themselves. Right now, we say the sky is blue. Okay, the sky's blue. Of course, you look up and it's blue, and because of the refraction and the elements and the things, it's blue. But if tomorrow we got sufficient proof and documentation, like, okay, we've done some measurements, we're going to revise that. The sky is now red. Okay, we can either fold our hands and say, I don't want to believe it, or we can go, all right, well, I have more information now. Look back into history. We used to believe that the Earth was the center of our solar system and that everything revolved around us. That was proven wrong. People died over it. People were incarcerated over it. We used to believe so many different things. I mean, there's some people now that still believe the Earth is flat. Go jump in a hole. You know, it comes down to faith. You choose to believe what you want, but yet truth is immutable and exists whether you're prepared to accept it or not.
Right. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, when you look back, like the Greeks and how they had a god for everything. They believed that there was a god for everything. They didn't know what rain was, so they thought it was, the gods like sending them a message, and you know what I mean? And I mean,
but that's what's great about being about being a searcher, in that once you have more information, you can modify what you believe. So sure, 2002 Brian was a skeptic, said this. All right, 2020 Brian has learned more, now says this.
Right.
And it's okay. I mean, this is we're in such a culture these days where you'll look through my Twitter feed and be like, oh, in 2010 you said this. Well, that was who I was then. This is who I am now. Right. I've learned more. I've grown. We're all growing. We're all growing together. And yeah, like if you and I were on an investigation together, it would be a unique situation because it would take your strengths and my strengths, our weaknesses combined, and we would work off of each other. Just like, all right, if I'm with another person, I'm going to be utilizing that. And each situation is unique, but we take from it things that are useful. And the anecdote, even though it's not proof, is still important. I can't give it to you. I can't show it to you, but it's the same way with a photo. It's the same way with an audio recording or a video, because at the end of the day, whatever you show me, I wasn't there. Right. I have to trust you. I have to choose to believe you. Right. And that's the crux of what we do, why it's so difficult to really get anything in the textbooks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember hearing this one time where, I was at a lecture one time and there was a guy in the audience, and he says to the person giving the lecture, he's like, so prove to me that ghosts exist. And they're like, I can't prove it to you, but I can guarantee you I have more evidence that they do that you have that they don't. So, and that's kind of where they left it. The guy just, kind of, okay, I'll take that as a fair answer,
Such things are semantic gymnastics to make a point, a sufficient semantical arguer will be able to dance around you, whether they are correct or not. It's very much like the, Edison going through 1,000 different ways to make a light bulb. He failed so many times. So at that point in the middle of the failure, you'd be like, oh, you can't do this. All you have to do is find the one way that does work. And then it exists. It's a possibility. And again, it comes down to that belief. It comes down to the semantics. Language is important. The words we use, the things we say, they're important. So I really want people to consider what they say before they just say it. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's hard these days.
It is because everybody is very, everybody's so everybody is so critical of almost everything nowadays. You know what I mean? Like there's really not much, that people won't, I mean, even there's like some groups I'm a part of, and somebody will put a picture up and I'll give my opinion. It's my opinion. And I make sure I say that. Mm-hmm. This is my opinion, and, then the person that puts it up is like, yeah. But you put up a picture asking what anybody thinks. And when you get the responses, there are people that there's like, out of the 100 people that responded, there could be 50 people that said, Oh my gosh, yeah, I see it. And then there's people that are like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean,
But then,
peer review is important. I mean, the fact that they put it up,
absolutely.
good. We should be doing that. But at the same time, you know this. When someone shows you a picture and like, oh, hey, look, I got a picture of an angel. Even though you're like, oh, yeah, that's a reflection, that's a refraction. They're not asking in earnest. They're probably
Right.
saying, oh, I want you to back up my belief because I want to feel better about that. So they're not looking for truth. They're looking for a band-aid. They're looking for a thing. And honestly, no matter what it
Confirmation.
is, confirmation. Truth isn't about majority rules. Again, everyone could be saying, oh, this is this. The one person in the room who has the bravery to say, well, I disagree, and here's why, might be the correct one.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. So what do you have going on? Like what's coming up? Like what is
what is COVID allowing me to have going on? The Rona.
Yeah.
Right now I'm next week, well, actually this weekend, I'm going to be at the Leffingwell House Museum in Norwich, Connecticut, with my History of the Paranormal mobile exhibits. Friday night, I'm doing 2 hunts, and on Saturday night, Dustin Parry is joining me for a 4-hour block. It's also going to be streamed online. You can check out the details at neverstopsearching.com
Oh yeah.
/tour for the details on that. After that, events. I'm going to be standing down for the winter. Definitely the rest of December, January. The museum is going through a retrofit. So actually what you saw, Taryn, is all getting redesigned and spruced up. And I have a Patreon page, which is patreon.com /Brian J. Cano. And this is severely important because being a member of this directly funds the museum. So you saw it when you walked in. There's a big poster board that shows, hey, here's all the people who are involved. So even though it's Brian J. Cano Presents, all these people are involved in getting this knowledge out. This is not my knowledge. This is our knowledge. And I want to continue getting it out to everyone because, yeah, it needs to be done. The more popular these shows become, there needs to be that movement. It's not sexy. It's no one's thrilled about, oh, wow, Brian's coming with facts. Or oh, Brian wants to teach us something. Oh man, I just want to run around in the dark with a meter. Well, you can do both, but if you're going to do one, at least try to do the other.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you have to.
You have to.
I think you have to. And it's not just the abandoned buildings or the known haunted mansions or there's a lot of people out there that help private clients, and that's a whole nother side of it, because you have to be careful what you're doing with private cases, because those people live there, and they're going through, so I feel like the education has to be out there.
Well, I mean, that's half of it, because I feel like a good percentage of the people out there doing private cases, they're not qualified to do so. And that's not a barb. That's a truth. That's okay. Well, in any other vocation, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you did training. There's things like, what gives you the right to go into someone's house and say whatever you say? Let the buyer beware. Hey, those people let you in, so it's equally their fault. But the more knowledge you have, the more information you have, if this can help them do their job better, if they insist on doing it, then yeah, that's a good thing. And hopefully we get Rona under control, because did I tell you I'm going to Wales next year?
Awesome.
Yes, doing a tour of Wales, July, end of July.
Wow, that's
9 days.
Huge.
Going to see lots of castles.
That's awesome. And now, are you going to share these experiences, or?
Oh, well, this is on a tour. People can come to this. It's if you go to my event page, neverstopsearching.com /events, and check out the Wales information, that'll take you to the ticket site. Now, again, Corona willing, we're going to be doing 8 nights, 9 days. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be X amount of time in Wales. Right now, they just extended the deadline. Originally, it was going to be mid-December to get your deposit in, but now it's been pushed back to February. So you'll be able to lock in a cheaper price. So there's only a few slots left. Highly recommend it. Come join me in Wales or any of the other places that I'm going to in 2021. And that list is continuing to grow as Rona gets pushed aside and we get to reclaim our lives again. We'll be doing a lot more.
Yeah, that's awesome. Brian, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, I know you're so busy and I know you have so much. And if anybody gets a chance, please check out his website and his the history of the paranormal mobile exhibit, which is amazing. I loved it, every second of it. And what else? I mean,
yeah, well, thank you. I mean, thanks for having me on the brew. And I mean, everywhere the museum goes, you're kind of there too, because some of your pictures are in the mural,
yes,
the crowdsourced mural. So again, like I said, this is not my information. I'm not doling out something that I've got. This is all of us, and I want to bring it to all of us.
yes. And I thank you for using my two of my pictures. And it's funny, backtracking, I think we said it. I was literally not, I say this, but then somebody corrected me and they were like, stop. You're always searching. You're always looking, right? But that was Gettysburg. And I was just taking scenery pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that thing on the railroad tracks. And I was just taking scenery pictures. But I know this in the back of my head, whenever I'm taking pictures in Gettysburg, I'm always like, God, I just want that one thing in the tree line or just that one little, maybe I'll get that picture, but
Maybe. Just keep taking pictures. Law of averages, maybe somewhere, someday, something, somehow,
yep.
some way.
Well, I've been doing this for, I don't even know how long. And that's the only picture I have ever gotten, and
Cool one.
yeah, so I'm happy. I'm like, I'm done. I got it. But yes, somebody just wanted to say she enjoyed hearing you speaking about these topics, Brian. My favorite was the comment about having faith.
Oh, thank you, Jody. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a hard thing to come to because we have faith, be it in something greater, unseen, a deity, a belief system, or faith in the men in the white lab coats who are crunching those numbers. Either way, we're placing our belief in something, and together we'll get through it.
Yes. And I just have to share one of Kenny Biddle's comments because I agree with him. Science is awesome. It's tedious, it's difficult and time consuming, but it's worth it. And it's true. I mean, we need that. You need the balance.
Oh, I'm in absolute agreement with that statement. Like, yeah, it's worth it. And that's the thing. It is time consuming. It doesn't happen before the first commercial break. So, you have people who are in the paranormal who want that thrill. They're a different animal than the people who are, lifelong researchers, kind of crunching the numbers, doing the days, like who don't have a YouTube channel, who don't advertise it, who are just doing it for the very pure, I want to know. And whatever your impetus is, whatever your goal is, it's all fine. It's all valid, but wear it on your sleeve. Make sure that the other people who encounter you know who you are and what you're about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. The only way forward. Yep. So again, thank you so much. I enjoyed our hour together. And hopefully one day, maybe next year, when you're not doing anything, you can come on again and we'll have another, maybe we'll have new stuff to talk about. And
I would love that. Yeah, anytime. You let me know.
all right. Thank you, Bri. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that joined in. And I'm sorry if I didn't get to everybody's comments, but they're there, so we can go back and check them out. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Taryn.
Love you. I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Are you going to Phenomenology?
I am not. I've got Burlington prison the next week, so I'm going to be focusing on that. But
Really?
much love to my Phenom family. I feel like since the rest of the world is going to be there, it's like too much of the government being on one plane. I feel like if something happens at Gettysburg, at least I will survive to carry on your memory.
Well, if something happens, I will come and make sure I give you firsthand paranormal evidence.
You give me the password. You speak the word. We'll get it done.
Absolutely.
Like Houdini.
And I might have to do that Burlington prison. That's like 15, 20 minutes from my house.
You should come.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go on your events thing and I'll check it out. Yes, yes. All right, guys. Everybody's saying great show. So thank you, Bri. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
I'll see you soon. Sayonara. All right. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. It was good seeing everybody on, and thank you so much. Kenny, I love you so much. Thank you for coming on and giving your, I do have faith in rum, and I also have faith in wine. And so this week coming up, or next week coming up, who do I have coming up next week? Well, we're booked through. I know I have, thank you. I know I have Sky Ray, the medium, coming on. I have April, the housewife, the medium housewife coming on. I do have Duo Demonology coming on again. And I'm trying. Oh, Kenny Biddle. Kenny Biddle will be joining me Sunday. If everybody, that's my next one. Sunday, 8:00. Me and Kenny will be having some love and drinking together. Hopefully, maybe. I don't know if he drinks on Sundays, but I'll be having my wine or my brew, and me and Kenny are going to just talk shop. I love picking Kenny's brain apart, and I love the work he does for the paranormal field because he does do a lot for us. He's good having him around. So I love me some Biddle. Yes. Oh, and yes, Jody. I would love to have Jody on. Steve, thank you. But with that being said, I have to go eat my din-din, and I'll have Jody on, and maybe Jody can join me for some shows and have her on, and maybe she can do some readings for some people because she's a very talented, gifted medium. She's amazing. So hopefully we can get Jody to come on too. So thank you everybody for watching. Join me Sunday. It's not a Wednesday, so it's a show, but you know, Kenny's special. So we had to put a little special date and time in there. So again, join me and Kenny on Sunday, this Sunday at 8:00, where we'll be talking. I don't even know with him. We never know where it's going to go. So we're just going to be probably roundtabling and laughing and, you know, all that good stuff. So love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.